Microsoft student partners, they're the guys in the blue t-shirts. Microsoft interns, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to start my speech with a question. How old is 15 years for a company? And more particularly, for a technology company? In 1998, I was not yet with Microsoft, and indeed, from the 4 employees at that time, only Jean-Luc Vrina, based in Réunion Island, and Kishan Achuraz, who's amongst us this evening, still form part of the team, which is now over 30 employees. To answer my question on how old is 15 years, I tried to figure out what was Mauritius like as for a tech company in 1998, and here's what I found. In 1998, only 3% of the Mauritian population had access to internet, and less than 1 in 10 households had a personal computer. GSM was not even in use, and people were running on analog mobile phones. In 1998, the country had a software piracy rate of 78%, and that means that nearly 4 in every 5 users was using a non-genuine software. And clearly at that point in time, there was no cyber city. So Microsoft saw this as an opportunity because we saw that Mauritius already had an economic success story. The population was motivated, and the government had a clear will to develop its economy further and faster. The implementation of the Copyright Act in 1997 was a guarantee for the protection of our intellectual property, and therefore, from our company's perspective, Mauritius was the ideal place to develop Microsoft's business across the Indian Ocean Islands and French Pacific. It was on the 3rd of September 1998 that Microsoft Indian Ocean Island and French Pacific's office was inaugurated at the Codon waterfront in Port-Louis. Some of you may recall that the official inauguration was done by the Minister of ICT at that time, and we're delighted that he can be amongst us tonight as the Chief Executive Officer of Mauritius Telecom, Mr. Sarat Lala. So thank you, Sarat, and thank you for your continued support and partnership. So Microsoft came to Mauritius to do business in the Indian Ocean Islands and French Pacific region. At Microsoft, we do business with one motto, and that motto is helping people to realize their full potential. This principle is imprinted in our own DNA, and this is what we've always tried to do in the region, and particularly in Mauritius. As many of you know, Microsoft has an indirect sales model, whereby 90% of the company's revenue is transacted through partners. And since 1998, we have developed a strong partner ecosystem composed of resellers and distributors. We have around 99 local partners who employ around 800 people. Today, a number of them have grown exponentially over the years, and many among them are leaders in the Indian Ocean Islands as a region. Many others, or a handful, are actually exploring opportunities in Africa, and many are already doing business in Africa. I mentioned earlier that we started with 4 people, and now we have more or less 30 employees based in Mauritius. But in the 15 years, we've also exported a number of talents from Microsoft based out of Mauritius. We have at least 5 members of our local team who've moved into roles in the Pan-African regions, like our entertaining Master of Ceremony, Mark, into the Middle East, including the UAE, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, amongst others. Earlier this year, we were tremendously proud when 3 Microsofties, all born in Mauritius or Réunion, were awarded what we refer to as the Microsoft Circle of Excellence Red Jacket, Microsoft's highest distinction as an employee. And those people are namely Gaël Bonsion-Thureau, Hilmi Dilou, and Laurent Rivière. Laurent is in fact present with us this evening and is managing our operations in Réunion Island, so he'll make himself known to you, and if you would like to have some insights into the Réunion market, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to share that with you. So we build and empower our partner ecosystem. We build our internal capacity with local talents and help them realize their full potential, but we don't just stop there. When Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded the company in 1975, so 38 years ago, they said that they wanted to see a personal computer on every desk. Some people in the industry thought this was crackers, that it was a real dream, a complete dream. And we've always believed that making technology affordable and available to more people would unleash the human creativity on a scale never seen before. That fundamental belief that technology can really change the world and improve people's lives is why we do what we do every day. It drives our long-term investments, and it's why Microsoft has a long history of rejecting conventional wisdom and taking on the toughest challenges in pursuit of bringing technology to more people. With that in mind, we've always been very, very keen to participate in the development of the ICT sector in Mauritius and in helping to make technology more accessible. In the past 15 years, we've invested more than 30 million rupees in grants and software donations to several institutions and non-government organizations. We've been sponsoring and investing in the ICT industry events, encouraging the dissemination of ICT knowledge and culture. We've been part of a number of projects to develop the local software industry, to make technology accessible to SMEs and NGOs, to improve the use of ICT for education and to modernize government. All these were done in close collaboration with the government and its agencies, as well as with the various NGOs. You'll see later in a short video that we're looking forward to showing you on more details of these projects. So tonight my message is that we're not going to stop here. Microsoft is committed to Mauritius, and we take this engagement very, very seriously. We are constantly on the lookout for new projects where we can provide some kind of support. Our team has a clear vision that of what we want to achieve in Mauritius, and we're aligned to the company's priorities for the African region, to the country priorities, specifically Mauritius. We've identified some key challenges for the years to come on the road to 2020 to imagine what will really be Mauritius next. We've therefore identified 3 pillars. The first pillar is world-class skills. We refer here to the improvement of the learning experience in schools and universities through ICT and capacity-building programs for entrepreneurs and our partners. This will help to improve the employability and will clearly support a number of the government projects, programs, which share the same objectives. The second area of focus is access. Access to technology, particularly to cloud services, to smart devices, which will inevitably be an accelerator for the SME market. The For Africa initiative, in that respect, intends to help provide affordable access to smart devices, to improve access to the internet in Africa broadly, and to facilitate access to free web services for small and medium businesses. We know that this has been identified as a project in the latest budget speech by the Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Xavier Duval. In his speech, the Vice Prime Minister also mentioned innovation as an important area of development for Mauritius. And this is our third pillar. We want to help ignite Mauritian innovation for the country and for the world. We are committed to working closely with the local independent software vendors and developers to accelerate the development of the highly relevant Windows 8 and Windows Phone apps by Mauritians, for Mauritius, and for the world. So we're currently having a number of internal discussions at this very moment around these 3 pillars to identify which specific projects we'll play an active role in. In the weeks and the months to come, we'll be sharing with you more and more what we intend to do. You'll remember that I started my speech with a question, so I gave you a series of data and give you an idea of what the Mauritian technology landscape looked like in 1998. But I want to share with you what's happened in the evolution in the last 15 years. I told you that in 1998, only 3% of the Mauritian population had access to the internet. In 15 years, this has increased by nearly 15 times. There were less than 1 in 10 households with a PC, and as at 2010, that was nearly 4 in 10, and I'm sure it's already at 5. In 1998, GSM was not yet in use, and people were using analog telephones. Today, we have all of the latest mobile technology that you can imagine. Software piracy? Well, software piracy actually declined from the original 78% down to 56%. So I want to sort of say, please don't worry. What we're not trying to do is, Microsoft's not trying to lay claim to all of these achievements, but we have witnessed it. And we can assert that it's only been possible thanks to the continued partnership that we entertain between all of the role players in the ICT industry. Together we grew what was once an industry to the third pillar of the Mauritian economy. Now to make it to the first place, it's all a matter of how we'll be taking our relationship further in the years to come. As one of these role models, Microsoft is committed to support a shared vision to work towards achieving these common objectives. Now, before I finish my speech, I think it's very, very important that I share with you that I have a wonderful job, and I have lots and lots of luck to be surrounded by a wonderful team, a team who is dynamic, committed, hard-working, a group of, I would say, young, creative individuals who have both a passion for technology and, the team being largely Mauritian, a real passion for their country. I think this is the ideal opportunity for me to share with all of them a huge thank you, because it doesn't often come very often, to thank them all for their commitment, for what they do day in, day out, working for Microsoft. And now for all of you, I'd really like to thank you for your kind attention, and I wish you all a wonderful, pleasant evening. It's now my pleasure to introduce my boss, Mr. Henny Loafsha, the General Manager for Microsoft West, East and Central Africa and Indian Ocean Islands, who will be delivering his speech. So thank you very much for your attention.
Honourable Minister of ICT, Permanent Secretary to the Minister of ICT, the CEO of Mauritius Telecom, leaders of industry, all our business partners, to my friends from Microsoft, it's my honor to be here with you tonight. I don't have a speech prepared. I want to share with you a few thoughts from the heart, because tonight is a celebration, and we need to celebrate in true style, because 15 years is a long time. I love the way that Mark phrased it, is that we are now going into adolescence, and as a company and as an organization, we're very proud of what we've achieved. And I think Paul gave you a very good picture of where we started and where we're at today. I do want to pause and just emphasize a few points to you though. You would have seen from what Paul reflected on is that we've made investment over time in Mauritius and in our business here. And my message to you tonight is that this investment will continue. As a matter of fact, the For Africa investment is something that is a very significant investment in Microsoft terms. It's only the second investment of this nature that we're making outside of the United States. And the previous one was made into China, being such a magnificent, big and fast-growing market. So Africa for Microsoft is a very, very important growing opportunity, and one that we started investing in a very serious manner in February of this year through the For Africa initiative. You heard from Paul that there are 3 pillars involved there around access, world-class skills and innovation. And we're going to demonstrate to you that we are very serious about making sure that a big part of that investment from For Africa land right here in Mauritius. And I want to explain to you why that's important in a minute. But before I get there, I thought that you should also be aware that the industry we're in is a very dynamic and fast-changing industry. And I do want you to be very clear that Microsoft's role in leading the change is an important one that I don't want you to miss. You'll notice that when you look at the table around you, that many of our partners and our colleagues and customers sitting with us tonight are using competing technologies. And you know what? We're comfortable with that. Apple has played a big role in our industry and will continue to play a big role in our industry. So will Google and so will others. But I'm here to tell you that Microsoft is transforming itself towards a services and a devices company. And I want to invite you to look very carefully at what we're doing in this space, not only with our own devices, but devices with our partners, but then look very carefully at what we're doing in providing cloud services and on-premise services to customers and clients in this market through offerings like Office 365 and Azure. Very, very important, and I want you to read into that in the whole of Africa, there are today only 9 countries that have full access to these cloud services. And Mauritius was one of the first countries to get access to those services. That's a very important indication to you as to how seriously we take the Mauritian market. In addition to devices and services, though, I want to alert you to the reality that mobile across the world is a trend that we all will participate in, whether we're ready for it or not. So is cloud services, so is big data, and certainly by now all of you are certainly participating in the notion of social media and social networking. But those 4 trends are important trends that will shape the future of our industry, and those 4 trends will shape the future of ICT in Mauritius as well. But I'm sure that's not news to you, and I can tell you that from my observation, I'm based in Johannesburg. I cover the 49 countries across Africa and Indian Ocean Islands and French Polynesia and New Caledonia. In those 49 countries, I travel extensively. I spend about 150 days of the year outside of my hometown. And I observe very acutely how these countries are developing and how ICT is developing across the continent. And I've got some good news for you. I'll tell you unequivocally that Mauritius is a very special place. And I'll call out a few attributes that I think you need to build on and that you need to celebrate. There's an immense capacity of human capital in Mauritius that I think is under-leveraged and is something that you need to do more with and that we need to partner on to take into the rest of the developing world, particularly Africa. It's phenomenal to see the quality of people that we engage with when we talk to you and when we do business together. The second one is that you're clearly very well positioned in terms of your geolocation and the infrastructure that's in place in Mauritius. And we've seen that, particularly within ICT, the access to the internet, the strength of your bandwidth, the quality of service in Mauritius, you're very, very well positioned to play a key role in provisioning of cloud services, not only to your own constituents, but to the rest of Africa. And I encourage you to take my feedback that you're in a very good position there. And then lastly, it's clearly when you look at the captains of industry, people from public sector sitting in the room today, that there's an incredible entrepreneurial skill set in Mauritius that I think we all want to leverage. Some of our partners are already expanding their businesses into the rest of Africa. We've not cracked the code as to how to do that in all cases, but it's very clear to us that there's a massive opportunity to provision shared services from a market like Mauritius to some of the developing parts of Africa. And we want to partner with you on that. So as a country, immense opportunity to increase your competitiveness. What we've also observed, though, is that you've made tremendous progress. When we look at the governance and the infrastructure that you've got in place in terms of how you govern ICT at a public sector level, I think you should feel very proud. We see that the rate at which the economy has diversified in Mauritius is certainly setting the tone for what should happen in the rest of Africa. I think the latest statistics suggest that ICT should contribute in the order of 7% to the economy, and that's a phenomenal achievement. And something that I can tell you that many countries in Africa aspire to and can learn from you on. I also think that there's great capacity building happening in combination of public and private sector in Mauritius already. And that's a very, very good trend that we want to participate in. And as Paul alluded to earlier, we're in deep discussions with the government to see how we can take our For Africa funding and how we can put it towards some very, very key priority projects in the next 6 months to make a significant impact in terms of youth empowerment, development, employability, and then skills skills building within the country. The second point that I think you should feel very proud of is the strength of your IT sector at a commercial level. The value chain that's developed within Mauritius and how you service the rest of your region and parts of Africa, I think is a phenomenal achievement and something that we love and we leverage and want to do more of. And I think then there's clearly, from our perspective, a level of thought leadership that we're seeing in Mauritius around ICT that we don't necessarily see in the rest of Africa. If you look at some of the innovation that has happened through partnership, through business partners in Mauritius, building applications and building solutions that finds application elsewhere in the world, I think that's a tremendous achievement to date. And then the last point I want to call out is that I think that the intimacy of the business and public and private partnership relationships within Mauritius creates a great opportunity for us to get into more private and public partnerships in Mauritius. And I'm putting my hand up as Microsoft to say that we want to facilitate more development around private and public partnership within the country. And we see great opportunity for that. So I'm trusting that us coming together tonight will be an incubation opportunity for some of these ideas and for us to leave the room tonight with some very concrete plans as to how we put that into motion, and we help you celebrate your success as much as we're celebrating 15 years of success within Mauritius in the last 15 years. So with that, I want to formally thank you for your participation and your support to Microsoft in the last 15 years. We don't often say thank you to people spending money with Microsoft. Paul mentioned to you that we moved from 78% piracy rate. I can assure you the piracy rate is down. We're in a better position today, and it's thanks to your support in helping us and respecting intellectual property rights, and certainly your help in seeing the opportunity to build your businesses and partner with us around the Microsoft technologies. And there's way more to come. We're in an interesting phase in the industry's history, and certainly believe that Microsoft's has got many years ahead of it in Mauritius and in the rest of the world. So I want to thank you. I trust that you enjoy the evening with us tonight, and we look forward to engaging with you socially in the next few hours. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henny. And so I think it's very important that Henny Lobsher reminds us that Microsoft in the region, in Mauritius and in Africa, is just at the beginning. And of course, all of you know a famous brand of rum on which Mark Twain wrote, well, he did not write it, but we took it from Mark Twain, where it says, God created Mauritius first, then he copied the paradise from it. And if it's true from the kindness of its people and the sceneries that we have around us, it's utmostly true from the quality of leadership and vision around ICT and how ICT can develop the economy. As Paul was mentioning as well, Mauritius placed a bet on IT many years ago. And I can remember my good friend Sarat Salah when he embraced the concept of Cyber Island. Many people, not in Mauritius, but outside of Mauritius, shrugged and said, these guys are crazy. Well, you know what? No revolutions have ever been started by completely irrational people. We need a little bit of wildness. And today, nobody can really deny the fact that ICT is a pillar of the economy. And as the government of Mauritius has always, along all these years, been a partner of choice to Microsoft, it's now my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Tassarajan Pile Chedombran, Minister of ICT of the Republic of Mauritius. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome of our Minister of ICT. Please. Watch this step.
Mr. Henny Lobser, General Manager of Microsoft, West, East and Central Africa and Indian Ocean Islands. Mr. Paul Bunting, Country Manager, Microsoft, Indian Ocean Islands and French Pacific. Captains of the industry, distinguished guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. First of all, thank you for inviting me for the 15 years of Microsoft in Mauritius. And I must say that I'm very happy and pleased to be in your midst today. You know, in fact, it's only at a very late hour that I confirm my participation at the function of today. As you all know, we are at committee stage with our budget presentation. And every day we are returning home very late or early in the morning. Today itself at about 4 a.m. I reached home. We had our ICT BPO International Conference which started only today itself. So it was a bit difficult. But taking into consideration the good work that Microsoft is doing in Mauritius, I said to myself, it's my duty to come and participate in that event. So, gentlemen, let me at the very outset congratulate Mr. Henny Lobser, Mr. Paul Bunting and the whole team of Microsoft in Mauritius for the remarkable work you've been doing over the past 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the field of ICT has known expansion and development at an astounding rate over the past few years. We've seen figures have been communicated by Paul Bunting. You know, I took office in 2010. And in the last 3 years, at least I can say for what I've seen for myself during the past 3 years, I've seen this sector shoot upward, defying world recession and global economic crisis. From 2008, while businesses collapsed across the world, the ICT sector seemed almost immune. Companies like Microsoft continued and continue still to expand in Asia and Africa. And economies like Mauritius are increasingly turning to ICT as a solid, reliable contributor to GDP. Today, we have all the reasons to be proud of the success we have achieved in the ICT sector in Mauritius and in Africa at large. According to the last statistic report issued in June 2012, the ICT BPO sector has contributed in Mauritius to the tune of 6.4% in our GDP. And they have made forecasts that for this year, end of this year, it will reach a figure of 7%. And at the same time, it has generated employment to 18,800 people. And those figures are on the rise for the coming year. Today, Internet penetration in Mauritius is almost at 45%, well above the mean for Africa. And mobile penetration is at a staggering 115%. That's why I used to tease our people saying that in Mauritius we have more mobile subscribers than Mauritian itself. So these figures didn't come by itself. There has been a lot of work that has been done. We've said it during our electoral campaign that we're going to make Mauritius the best connected country in the world. And today, at 115% penetration of mobile in Mauritius, the figures speak for itself. When we said that we want to make Internet a basic citizen's right, and you can see it for yourself, more than 45% when we have in Africa a figure around 7%. So gentlemen, I think we have good reason to say that we can share this pride with you. You know, the process of digitalizing Mauritius is well on track for the future. Among the steps we are taking in this direction, we've had our national broadband policy. If I'm not mistaken, we are the only country in Africa which has its national broadband policy. We've had our national ICT strategy plan, which gave us the indication how we have to move if we want really to make ICT a main pillar. I can still recollect sometime last year I was in South Africa, in Cape Town, when my colleague, the Minister of ICT there, was asking the ITU representative to give them assistance to build up their national broadband policy. Why did we organize that why did we want to have our own national broadband policy? Because we have a vision. Our Prime Minister has always said that he wants to modernize our country. He wants to see innovation. And that's why I always say, if you can't innovate, go home. We want to see Mauritius as the great little Mauritius, where you have a lot to give to our people. We don't have resources in this country. We don't have gold, silver, diamond and all that. Our only resources are our people. And that's why we want to give the best to our people. And you know, when we talk about national broadband policy, our friend Paul Bunting gave you the figure, where figures stand. You know, history speaks for itself. When you want to bring that sector as a main pillar, it was not even a pillar of our economy some 3 years ago. Today, already ICT has become the third pillar. You know, we don't want to make ICT a sector, a promising sector for these years, and then in the coming years, you don't see anything happen, and you see things going down. This we don't want for the ICT sector. So we have to set pillars. Set pillars. That's why we came with our National ICT Strategic Plan in 2011. In 2012, we came with our National Broadband Policy. Because at that time, when we have said that we want to make Internet a basic citizen's right, we have to set structures to make it happen. Ça ne tombera pas du ciel. We have to make things happen for this country. And you know, 5 years may look a long time for you, but for a minister who has the mandate of 5 years to make things happen, 5 years is nothing. That's why we have to set structures, we have to put pillars to make it really resilient. And when we set our broadband policy, we said, we have to look at it, we have to see, we have to look into, if we want to make Internet a basic citizen's right, we have to make Internet accessible to all our citizens. Do you know what was the penetration rate of Internet at that time in 2010? Very low. I will not mention the figure. We have to look into the affordability, the cost of Internet, which people were saying was very high. We have to address that issue. And we have to give quality, value for money. When we talk about making it accessible, that's why we carpeted the whole island with computer clubs, giving free Internet facilities to all our people throughout the island. Then we came with the idea of setting up Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, We started a pilot project for district councils and municipalities, and now we have roped in the private sector. And not later than Friday last, we obtained the approval of cabinet. It became a cabinet decision. We're going to have another 113 new Wi-Fi spots in Mauritius, Wi-Fi zones, where our people can have free internet facilities. We have in our post offices the public internet access point. So you can see. And what we did, very interesting, we even amended our Finance Act to give more power to the regulator, so that as and when required, if we have to bring a reduction in the tariff, the regulator is there to see whether it necessitates a reduction in the tariff, they can do so. And today, we are proud to say that you are having internet at 200 rupees monthly, making it an average of 7 rupees daily. Plus beau que ça, tu meurs. And let me tell you one thing. You know what was the cost of internet some years ago. Ça nous coûtait les yeux de la tête. But taking into consideration what internet can offer to our people, we say to ourselves, we have to look into it. And that's why we had the Universal Service Fund to assist us to give you that helping hand to make internet, to make that penetration, which nowadays has reached more than 45%, when in Africa it is around 7%. When we have talked about accessibility, affordability, and today, you know, when the Millennium Development Goal is saying that by 2015, every country must make its effort to have the cost of national broadband at an average of 5% of the average of the national income of that citizen. Today in Mauritius, we are at 1.3%. So gentlemen, you can see. It's clear. The figures speak for itself. And now what is most important for us, after having addressed the issue of accessibility, affordability, now what is most important for us is to give you value for money, give you quality of internet. You want to have 2 mega, we give you, you will get it. Whatever amount that you're asking for, you will get it. We want you to have quality, and great emphasis is being laid on that. Some few months ago, I have the CEO of Mauritius Telecom here. We launched that optic fiber to the home, FTTH, for Mauritius Telecom, after having done so with Bharat Telecom. And now we have the ambition of connecting 50,000 houses to fiber cable by next year, compared to 8,000. The fiber optic will offer a speed up to 30 mega per second. And we will be among the best in the Southern Hemisphere. Regarding internet connectivity with East Africa, a cross-connection of the Lion and Seas fiber optic cable system will be established between Mauritius and Seychelles. ICT dependent on ability to innovate and create, emphasis on startups. We focus on creating a robust software industry in Mauritius, encouraging SMEs and roping in both government and industry. There's a lot of projects. We have our innovation, we have our incubators in Eben, we want to have another one in Port Louis. Because we know that the entire ICT sector relies on the right training and skill, the government is investing heavily in its use. In fact, only this morning, the Ministry opened its annual ICT BPO International Conference. And this year, it is coinciding with an ICT Youth Engagement Summit, whose purpose is to focus specifically on engaging young people in the ICT sector. Why? You've seen during the past few years, we have had at the level of the Ministry of ICT, we've organized more than 5 to 6 international conferences. Why? You all know that Mauritius has always been known as a tourist destination. Now, we want also to become the preferred, safe and secured ICT destination. This is our ambition for our country. When our tourist sector is facing problems, when the textile industry is having problems, when our sugar sector is having problems, we are trying our utmost best to propel our economy forward. And already, despite the fact that we are the third pillar of the economy, our contribution in the government economy, in the Mauritian economy, is when finance sector is contributing to about 5.2%. The second pillar, the forecast is 0%, 0.2% I think, for this year. The ICT sector is at 7.9%. So you can see for yourself the work that is being done. The government is constantly throwing its weight behind equipping the youth for the future of the ICT sector. Why? Nous voulons que nos jeunes deviennent de créateurs d'emplois et non de demandeurs d'emplois. Et à ce titre, on est en train de mettre beaucoup d'emphase sur ce qu'on appelle le software industry. For the jeunes, we have Wi-Fi zone in schools and equipping schools with IT lab equipment. Quand on dit que notre pénétration de l'Internet est à 45%, et cette année-ci, exceptionnellement l'année prochaine, on va donner des tablettes à nos étudiants de la Forme 4 et 5, donc ce qui fait que ça va augmenter considérablement encore notre pénétration de l'Internet. And what is most interesting, we will have to give our students the encouragement to follow IT courses. We need you. And this year in our budget, provisions have been made for 8 university scholarships to HSC students with a specialization in the ICT sector. So, il y aura 8 nouveaux lauréats pour le secteur des TIC. Partnering with several key industry players like Symantec, with whom we had a workshop earlier this week. We are strengthening our ties with international organizations in order to reinforce a regulatory framework for online security and especially the protection of children. We signed recently an MOU with Internet Watch Foundation. You have to, when we talk about IT penetration, when we talk about Internet penetration, we have to think also about what we call cybersecurity. When the President of America, Obama, met his counterpart in China, the subject which was on the agenda was cybersecurity. And this also, we are addressing that issue. That's why we signed that MOU with Internet Watch Foundation to protect our children online. We are reiterating government commitment to ensure the very best online security for all of its citizens and most especially our children. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this government is sparing no effort to grow and expand the ICT sector in Mauritius. with drive and dedication, we will continue to provide the best quality products and services for our citizens. We will make ICT into one of the biggest GDP contributors in this economy. This is our challenge. And we will foster and strengthen regional and international cooperation trade needed to drive that sector forward. You must not forget that we have also the ambition of making Mauritius a regional hub for ICT. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely pleased that the policy at Microsoft seems to coincide with that of the government of Mauritius, which is always put people first. And indeed, in its 15 years in Mauritius, the work done by Microsoft has been most commendable in this regard. And I will tell you frankly, again, I'm laying emphasis for that. My presence today is a testimony of my appreciation for the work that you've been doing. As we move towards the future, we sincerely hope that the ties between industry and government will only be reinforced. It is my particular belief that solid public-private partnership are the way forward for this industry, and my ministry will continue to make sure that those ties are strengthened. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me once again to congratulate Microsoft on its 15th year in Mauritius. I, on my own behalf and on behalf of all of you present here, we are going to wish the whole team at Microsoft even more success in the years to come. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for sharing your vision and confirming that ICT will remain in the future a pillar of the economy. So, ladies and gentlemen, numbers are ruling the economy, and so now let's have a meeting between these beautiful past walls, so when the present meets the past, and let's have a look at the Microsoft impact in Mauritius over the last 15 years by the numbers. Please roll the video.